welcome to this talk on EAL in multilingual classrooms. EAL stands for English as an Additional Language, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. And as we are waiting for more people to join, please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat. I will be introducing myself as well. So my name is Eva. But yes, please use the chat for any comments and the Q&A box for any questions. We'll have time to look at those questions later towards the end. But yes, absolutely. Welcome and thank you so much for joining me. I think I will share my screen with you so you can see. Okay, please use the emojis as well. So I hope you can see my screen okay. As I said, hello and warm welcome to this talk on EAL in multilingual classrooms. This is presented by for you by me, Eva, and the Learning Village by Across Cultures. As I said, please use the chat to introduce yourself, and why don't we start with something fun, language-wise. So please feel free to put in the chat your name, and as you are putting your name, think of how you can introduce yourselves using the first letter of your name represented by a language. For example, my name is Eva, and I thought I for Icelandic, V for Vietnamese, and A for Albanian. Okay, so let's just do this just for the fun of it, because we'll be talking about languages. Also, if you don't mind, put your role, your city or country. Is your school primary or secondary as well? So we've got Anna from Portugal, Suzanne, Community Library and ESOL. Okay, all ages and stages. Suzanne, your name is quite long, so if you, yes, it'll be wonderful if you can think of any languages for the first letters of your name. My name is quite short, so it didn't take me that long, but yes. Okay, so I'll be keeping an eye on the chat and on the Q&A as well. Maria from Lisbon, Portugal. Julie, Japanese, Urdu, Latvian, Icelandic, English, excellent. Thank you so much. Annie, teaching adults in France as well. Okay, excellent, very good. Thank you so much. So that was fun. Okay, Sue, EL tutor for adults. All right, very good. So moving on, I will be putting some links to useful articles, blogs, free resources as well, which Across Cultures and Learning Village creates in the chat box. So please feel free to open them and download them. You might need to register for free, but you'll be able to download the resource and the article as well. So as you have kindly introduced yourself, it's only fair that I introduce myself. So my name is Eva. And I'm an EAL specialist and EAL teacher at heart with the Learning Village at Across Cultures. I started my career as EFL, English as a foreign language, and German language teacher, and then I moved on to the world of EAL, English as an additional language, and I've held positions as EAL coordinator and head of EAL in primary and secondary schools in London, and for leading and managing the EAL provision in large educational organizations as well. I'm super passionate about languages and multilingualism. I speak, read, and write 4 languages fluently, with my mother tongue, my home language being Bulgarian. And my passion is about celebrating home languages and cultural diversity as well. So as I said, we'll be talking today about EAL in multilingual classrooms and languages overall, and how we can support those EAL and multilingual learners in our classrooms. So just a little bit about the Learning Village before we get down on to the actual talk. and what we do at Learning Village and how it can support your EAL and multilingual learners with learning English. So Learning Village is a very comprehensive program aimed at supporting EAL learners, complete beginners up to intermediate level of proficiency, low-level literacy learners, and SEND learners as well. Learning Village supports all language skills, speaking, listening, understanding, writing, and reading through teaching, blending and decoding of phonics, improving spelling, everyday, but also academic language to access the curriculum that's subject specific, that slightly more challenging vocabulary and language structures those EAL and multilingual learners need to actually access the curriculum and understand the content. And Learning Village supports development and improving of fluency, accuracy, pronunciation, and comprehension skills as well. The program is divided into two parts. So we've got the village, aimed at primary schools for learners aged 6 to 11. And we've got the islands for secondary schools for learners aged 12 to 16 years old. We have just launched another sister platform called the Community Village, which is aimed at supporting ESOL adult learners, parents, carers, who might want to improve their English so they can support their children with their learning in class as well. If you'd like a free demonstration and a free trial with the Learning Village, I will put a link in the chat so you can sign up. There is no obligation whatsoever. So we'll be thrilled to show you how the Learning Village can benefit your learners, your schools, and you as staff. So what is so special about Learning Village and what makes it so unique? We use image as a language of instruction. We are image-based. Everybody understands images. They are concrete. So in that way, the Learning Village is suitable for learners of any language background, including scripts different to English. I already mentioned beginners to intermediate level, any pre-literate or non-literate learners who will be relying on images to help them make sense and understand the meaning of words. The Learning Village as a platform is very inclusive, very immersive, and we use a blended approach. So we've got the online teaching and learning sessions, and we've got the offline downloadable and printable resources and worksheets. And I will put in the chat a link to all those printable resources aimed at supporting EAL and multilingual learners. So you can have a look and download them, and hopefully they will be helpful. As teachers, you can also create your own resources and your own online content in the Learning Village. We warmly invite you to join our upcoming introduction webinars on the Learning Village on the 15th of November for primary and on the 16th of November for secondary at 8 a.m. or 4 p.m. UK time, where we'll explain how the program works, and we will show you the benefits of it and how we can help learners, teachers, and the whole school community. And we also do a framework course for schools, virtual, for 4 days, aimed at developing a flexible whole school approach to supporting EAL, full of good practice, sharing tips, creating consistency across the school, and flexible resources to support differentiation. So that is from the 28th of November to the 1st of December. 4 days, quite intensive, but really good fun and engaging. Okay. So hopefully today we'll be talking about benefits and challenges of teaching EAL in multilingual classrooms, how we can use multilingualism as a tool to support learning English as an additional language. We'll share strategies to overcome language barriers in multilingual classrooms, and hopefully we'll share best practice tips and ways how we can embrace and celebrate multilingualism. The Learning Village has a blog with articles on mother tongue and multilingualism, which are accompanied by a free downloadable resource, and I will put the link to it in the chat box. Just 1 second. So this is the link in the chat box to our free blog full of articles and resources as well. Okay. So please feel free to comment in the chat. What do EAL and multilingual learners might have to learn in English? We shouldn't. There is a quote by Pauline Gibbons, a famous researcher, which says, the quote says that we shouldn't treat our EAL learners as just learners who lack English, but as learners who will bring something to the community, the school, and the class. Yes, please feel free to comment in the chat. What do you think those EAL and multilingual learners might have to learn in English? We always say, okay, EAL learners, multilingual learners need to learn English. They need to learn the language. But what do we mean exactly by that? Any comments in the chat at all? What does it mean to learn English, or to learn the language, or learn a language? What kind of things they should be focusing on? As a whole, the language, but what do we mean by that? Feel free to comment in the chat. But also, okay, let's have a look. So those EAL and multilingual learners will have to learn a new set of sounds. They might have a new a script different to English, just like in Chinese or Russian or Korean or Ukrainian or Arabic. New intonation patterns. You never know if someone is asking a question or making a statement, so that we need to learn what the intonation is. It raising? Is it falling down? New spelling rules and new grammar. The word order might be different. The tenses might be different. Certain prepositions or determiners might not even be existent in the learners' home languages as well. Of course, new vocabulary, new words, and that will help them to improve their language. There is a comment in the chat: we need to move away from the idea that they're just people in need. Exactly. Well, yes, we need to help them, we need to support them, we need to make them, first of all, welcome, safe in our school contexts. And then the learning will start falling into place. They absolutely, those EAL and multilingual learners, they're not lacking English. They will learn English. They will catch up. They will learn it, but they will bring so many other things from their own culture, country, identity to the class, to the school, to the whole school community. Any nonverbal signs and how we can use our body to communicate our messages across certain cultures might not necessarily have like a thumbs up, or certain cultures might not be used to teachers asking of the learner's opinion and taking part in discussions. So the teacher might be a well-respected figure standing at the front and just delivering the lesson. New rules about social situations, what is accepted and what might not be well received, what is rude, and what is how you can get your message across, and how you can basically relate to people, and how you can express your feelings, thoughts, and emotions in a completely new language. I once heard that if you, or when you start dreaming in a new language, then it means that you are quite fluent in that particular language. Or once, as a parent, you start singing lullabies, or saying rhyming poems in that particular language, then you're kind of you have developed your knowledge of that particular language. So how long does it take to get to native-like proficiency? So here we're talking about BICS, basic interpersonal communication skills, which might take up to from 2 to 5 years. This is that everyday survival, social, basic language, the language on the playground, which learners tend to learn quite quickly from their peers, and it might be quite misleading. And teachers often think that if someone speaks the language well, they get by, they hold the conversation, they will be able to manage in the classroom. But it might not be quite true. I hope you will agree with me, but otherwise, yes, please feel free to comment in the chat. That is quite difficult to learn that academic, subject-specific, challenging vocabulary and language structures needed to access science or history or geography or even exams when it gets to that stage. So it might take up to 7 years, from 5 to 7 years to achieve CALP, according to Cummins. And CALP stands for Cognitive Academic Language Proficiency, and that is that academic vocabulary and language structures that we need to teach specifically and explicitly, so those learners can access the curriculum. Okay, so this is a quote by Gibbons, saying that in the process of learning English, children's primary cultural and linguistic identities should not be submerged, nor should the process of learning a new language and culture be a one-way journey away from family and community. And it's so important to involve parents and families in the school life. If you win parents and families and carers over, then that's the half the battle won, if you want your EAL and multilingual learners to succeed and make progress. Thinking of doing workshops with parents, welcoming packs for parents, because we often think of, yes, our children are new to the school, new to the language, new to the country, but so are their families as well. So thinking about welcoming packs for the families, even translating certain type of communication and letters going out to parents would be really appreciated, I'm sure, by those families. And even linking certain communities and families speaking the same language, linking them together so they can make contact. So thinking of who else is new in the school and who else speak that particular language. And even thinking about parents who might have been in the school a year or 2 years, so they know the process, they're familiar with the school's life, and linking that newly arrived family with that family so they can get in touch and make contact, so they can feel just a little bit more welcome and involved in the school life. And I will drop an article by the Learning Village in the chat box, which talks about supporting parents in maintaining their child's mother tongue. So please feel free to have a look. So it's in the chat box now. So another quote before we move on to slightly more practical tips and strategies. Another quote by Li Wei, a professor of applied linguistics and editor of the International Journal of Bilingualism, states that bilingual children understand the internal structures and subtleties of different languages. And by having an automatic point of comparison, multilingual children automatically understand the universals of languages and have a high level of language awareness. Talking about the benefits of being bilingual and multilingual and raising that awareness of languages within your schools will make those bilingual, multilingual EAL learners feel more welcome within your school context. I often translate back and forth in two or three languages. So that's what your EAL and multilingual learners do as well. And they shouldn't lose their home mother tongue languages at the expense of learning English. Yes, it is true that we need to support them and teach them how to speak, read, and write English, but also in one way or another, support them in maintaining their home language, because they might go back to their home countries. And what if they can't communicate with their cousins or cousins or grandparents in their mother or home language? So they will be lost, and it's kind of they're losing their identity as well. Okay. How can we help those EL and multilingual learners overcome those language barriers that's being challenged with in our classrooms? Obviously, visual support as much as possible, flashcards with the words and translation as well, so they're making that link with their home language. We can easily, in an ideal world, yes, pre-teach vocabulary, and that's often with a support member staff or teaching assistant, pre-teaching of vocabulary and language structures, especially that academic, challenging, key topic words and concepts, accompanied by a translation, ideally, valuing in that way. You are valuing and encouraging their use of pupils' home languages as well. Don't underestimate the power of pre-teaching. This can be done at home or with the support member staff in school. When you're introducing a new topic, why don't you ask them, what do they already know about that particular topic? You never know with slightly older learners in primary or in secondary schools. They might have already studied that particular topic back in their home countries. So now they need to learn the vocabulary and the language structures to show you, to express that they know that content, not particularly having to learn and study that content and that topic again. They need to be supported and helped with the learning of vocabulary and language structures in English. Sending topics home so those learners can research those topics in their home language, so they're making links and connections if they already know something in their home language about that particular topic, and then come back to the classroom and learn how to express that in English. As teachers, modeling the language in English, be consistent in the use of your home language, perhaps avoid the use of idiomatic expressions. For example, if you have started using the phrase, let's say, put your hand up, continue using that same phrase over and over until your learners have learned it, and then move on to the phrase raise your hand, because they might not necessarily know what that means yet. Differentiating, of course, using different activities and scaffolded support, for example, well, labeling, substitution tables, graphic organizers, timelines, story maps, writing and speaking frames, fill in the gaps. And I just want to say that Learning Village has tools and resources which help you to create all this variety of resources. Consistent, yes, in instructing, explaining, supporting until they learn more and more vocabulary. For all the learners in primary schools and for those older learners in secondary schools, when they're reading longer paragraphs and bigger texts, highlighting, summarizing, annotating, even in their home language on the side could be really powerful. And always reviewing vocabulary. They need to have heard and practiced the vocabulary and the language structures and the grammar quite a few times over a long period of time, so they can remember it. I will put in the chat another free downloadable and printable resource on mother tongue and multilingualism. So please feel free to have a look at it. So it's a downloadable and printable resource. Please click on these links and open them there by the Learning Village, so you can you've got them saved to look at a later stage. Okay, what do we do in our schools to embrace and celebrate multilingualism? Please feel free to drop in the chat. How do you do that in your schools? How do you celebrate and encourage the use of languages and being multilingual or bilingual in your schools? What do you do? How do you celebrate it? Is it just on a particular day, at certain events, or is it a whole school approach? What do you do? Okay, food festivals, yes, that is absolutely very popular and very well attended. I would imagine, what else do you do? Projects links to events, links to the library, and the library is the beating heart of the school. Language of the moment, yes, absolutely. Some schools do language of the term, language of the month, songs in different languages, lots of comments coming up in the chat, reading in different languages. Yes, I had a student who arrived in year 7, an Arabic speaker, and with very limited English, but he was a huge fan of, you know, like Harry Potter, amazingly. Yes, linking. So they might be reading big, long books in their home languages, but still learning phonics and spelling in English. Poetry and rhymes in different languages, yes. Taking the register in different languages, even pointing to learners, how do you say this in your language? Is it a noun or is it an adjective in your language? Does this adjective go in front of the noun in your language? What kind of punctuation have you got in your home language? Do you use full stops? Do you use capital letters? What do speech marks look like in your language? Okay, so let's have a look. What do we have? So as I said, that celebration of languages and bilingualism and multilingualism should be a whole school approach, and not just on a certain day, week, month, but throughout the year. Every single day, every single lesson. And we said assemblies, showcasing languages, poetry, rhymes, taking the register in different languages, signage in the school, for example, the library, the lunch hall, the toilets, even the staff room, the principal or the head's office in different languages, displays of keywords, and you can usually do that in your classrooms, like having a word wall with your key topic subject specific vocabulary for your lesson or for your subject, and post-it notes asking your learners to translate that word in their home language. And in that way, other learners in your class might become just a little bit more interested in that particular script. For example, a Russian speaker might be interested in a how do we write in Japanese, and the other way around. We talked about sending information home in their home language, translating communication for parents in their home language, and always allowing the use of home languages in the classroom, valuing and respecting them. And I had a year 2 boy, an Italian boy, who was in my EAL intervention group out of class, and we were talking about adjectives for personality, and I wrote the word personality on the whiteboard, and immediately he stood up, came to the board, and just underlined persona in personality. And his English was limited, but he was able to read. He could read in Italian, so straight away he was able to recognize at the age of 7. At the age of 7, he was in year 2. The word persona. So he was able to make a link what we were going to study in our lesson. Talking to parents about the benefits and advantages of being bilingual and multilingual. I've had parents who unfortunately wanted their children to desperately learn English as quickly as possible at the expense of losing their home language, and even talking in English to their children in their homes. But actually, it's more important to maintain the home language, and then you've got that good, solid basis of building up and learning more and more vocabulary in English, and even in a second, third, fourth language. So coffee mornings, tea afternoons for parents. If you have large communities of parents speaking one particular language, you can invite them separately, have PowerPoint presentations, and either having translators or a member of staff might be able to speak that particular language. So having doing an audit of all languages children speak, but also staff speak in your school, it might be valuable. So bringing those parents and families together who speak one language, and the PowerPoint and subtitles going at the same time simultaneously in that particular language might be helpful. Linking parents and families together, and of course, as I mentioned, the library is the beating heart of the school. It should take center stage. So have you recently looked what kind of books are there available in your library? Is every single book in English? Do you have any dual language books, or any books in different languages? You can ask parents to donate books in their home language which they are not using in their homes. So that works really well. I tried that, asking parents to donate books in different languages, and they were really pleased. So try that if you haven't done it already. Okay, so I will drop a link in the chat It's a free downloadable resource on inclusive EAL classroom tips by the Learning Village. So have a look at it. Just a few tips how to make your classroom even more inclusive. And yes, I think I will leave you with this. When learning a language, it is not just about learning the language, is it? Noam Chomsky says a language is not just words, it's culture, it's a tradition, it's a unification of a community, a whole history that creates what a community is, and it's all embodied in the language. And it's absolutely true. It's not just about learning the language. It's those EAL and multilingual learners immersing themselves in the culture, in the tradition, in the ethnicity, in the literature as well. And that's why that's how they will be enriching themselves as individuals. Our EAL and multilingual learners learn to use language and use language to learn. And every lesson should be a language lesson, and all teachers should be language teachers. So think when you go back to school, think how you're making those links with the learners' home languages, and are you always in every single lesson asking them even little things, as I mentioned, what does this mean in your home language? How many letters is this particular word in your home language? How many vowels or how many consonants? Can you find words within words? So even those little things help to develop that bilingual and multilingual brain. And we certainly want our learners to grow up and become truly bilingual and multilingual as well. Okay, there is a comment in the chat from Miriam. First year as an EL teacher, always encourage absolutely students to draw parallels with their home language. Brilliant. It makes the teaching process even more interactive and interesting. And as a teacher also, you kind of you grow and develop yourself as an EL teachers. I think it's a kind of within us to be interested in other people's, well, children's languages and cultures as well, and using your own knowledge of other languages, Miriam says. And yes, share it with the students. And when you share your passion for languages, that's when your learners will start showing and displaying that passion and enthusiasm as well. And of course, as Miriam says, those students just become a little bit more confident sharing what they know. Dual language dictionaries, texts are very useful. Excellent. Thank you so much, Miriam. Okay. Yes, I think this is kind of the end of this talk on EAL in multilingual classrooms. Any questions in the chat, in the Q&A box? Nothing yet, but yes, thank you so much for attending this talk. I hope there has been something for everyone, and you found it really helpful and beneficial, and some useful tips and strategies to apply in your context. And yes, thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of the other talks. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who has joined. Bye bye and take care. Рисования Хубова неделя. Благодаря. I'll leave you with the links to webinars, introduction webinars to the Learning Village, lots of resources and articles that we do. So I'll put those links if you're interested in a free trial and demonstration of the Learning Village. Please feel free to get in touch. The Learning Village and it'll be wonderful to show you how the Learning Village can help you in supporting EAL and multilingual learners as well. So I put those links in the chat again. So thank you so much. Bye bye.